Good morning, Ratman. I'm your host, Che. Been reading about maps and stuff. Rats! They sponsor the show. Rats. Rats! Rat! So, I made a map. Got a lot of views. Most viewed video on the channel. It's a bad video. I don't know why people keep watching it. But then, Trench Crusade released a map, finally. I figured I'd go through the map one by one, what I got right, what I got wrong. Almost everything. Almost everything I got wrong. There was some stuff that were pretty close, but the exact borders were near. So we're just going to go through the map in a very weird order. What's there? What are things that I noted? What are just interesting facts about this stuff? So on, so forth. Anyway, getting in, we're going to speedrun some of this, the obvious stuff. England exists. Yeah, obviously, we knew England existed. We also got Wales, interestingly, not called Cymru, unlike Alba and Era, which I pronounced wrong in the last video just by looking up a pronunciation guide. I'm good at words. I don't know why Cymru got shafted and not having its Cymraeg name, and it just got its English name. Anyway, so here's the thing. I thought I put it into the video. I did not. Cornwall! They are seemingly independent. Now, I put Cornwall in England, the previous video, because England took control over Cornwall prior to the deviations in the timeline. But I did consider it. Really wish I mentioned it, because it would have sounded cool, having predicted an independent Cornwall. A place that no one knows actually has its own indigenous culture and language. And then, north a bit, we got Iceland over here, marked as Ultima Thule. It just means the furthest away land. It's a term that's been around for a very long time. Usually to refer to Greenland, and Iceland is just Thule. I originally learned the term through the Thule people, who were basically proto-Inuits, unrelated to the episode. It's worth looking up the Inuits' repeated fights with historians. Like, historians were like, yes, Inuits, the first people to arrive in Arctic America. And the Inuits countered with, no, there were people here before us. It's in our myth. To which the historians went, but myth isn't real. You guys were the first. Oh shit, what's that? Bones? With cultural artifacts that don't match Inuit practices and DNA? That doesn't match Inuit DNA? There must have been people before. To which the Inuit response was, oh yeah, you mean the fucking people we told you about? And the ship, the Terror, famously went missing, and the Canadians tried to find it, and the Inuits went, yeah, it's in Terror Bay. To which the search teams went, no, silly, we named the bay after the ship. It's not in Terror Bay. Then, 100 years later, they put together a new team who couldn't find it, and they hired exactly one Inuit guy who went, yeah, it's in Terror Bay. It's been in Terror Bay the whole time. And they went there, and there it was. Mast sticking out of the ice and everything. Been there the entire time. This is a recurring theme. Anyway, moving on. Down to France. Blech. I don't know what the fuck happened to Brittany. I looked at it and went, huh? It seems to be split into two. I don't know why. But they seemingly use the historical Breton flag of Browenid, aka Vanities, French. But they decided to be cowards and not use the version with the ferret with the cape. How do you skip the ferret with the cape? When I learned of this flag 8 years ago, probably longer, not gonna lie, it's cemented in my mind as the best flag of all time, and I brought it up in conversations about where has the best flag. Bikini Atoll also has a pretty metal flag. Anyway, moving on. France is all split up into historical smaller kingdoms. However, a decent chunk is just France. Shout out to France. Can just never be rid of them. Lost Avignon, though, seemingly now a heretic stronghold in Europe. Or it's just on fire. One of the two. So, this took me, not gonna lie, way too long to figure out. But this word right here says vassals, which, dictionary definitions, if you're unfamiliar of a vassal, a holder of land by feudal tenure or conditions of homage or allegiance. So the basic gist, it's a pseudo-autonomous region. Think of it in modern terms like a state, except they are unelected and answer to an unelected monarch, as opposed to the modern political landscape. The problem with this is I have no idea who these are vassals for. Are they vassals for France, or is it Aquitaine or Normandy, or are all these places vassals to France? I don't know. I would guess vassals to France because it's France. But I also don't know if Aquitaine and Normandy are also independent, or they are vassals. Vassals isn't written over them, and they have an individual writing. So I'm assuming they're independent. They're the independent kingdoms of Aquitaine and the Duchy of Normandy. Who knows? Moving south to Spain, we have Castile and Aragon as a unified kingdom. Something in the real world they did in the 1400s. And as we know, they are fighting off an invasion from Gibraltar in the south and doing a pretty good job. As is Portugal, which ended up forming somehow, sometime, which they did in 1143 real world, with the kingdoms of Galicia, Navarra, two regions I couldn't place because one has the borders of Aragon, and Catalonia. Also, probably Andorra, the country no one knows exists, but I do. There's a Andorran reference on this channel that I put in like 6 months ago, and no one's ever acknowledged it. I think this little square here, yes, I know, it's not a square. I think that's Andorra. Shout out to Andorra. Marrakesh, Morocco, Maracus. I saw a post about someone mentioning that under this is the Empire of Mali, and what does it mean for Muslims being outside the Iron Wall? Because we were told that most Muslims went there, and Mali has Muslims, but you know what else is a majority Muslim population? Morocco. Just an entire Muslim nation, just chilling, doing chill stuff. But also, Berbers, they probably exist in greater strength and possibly their own religion still kicking around if enough Muslims left. Now, I don't talk about Morocco in my map video, but I did talk about them briefly in my Iron Sultanate video. I think you could do some interesting stuff with the Amazigh culture. Tangent, because it's kind of what we do here. But the Moroccan flag, both in Trench Crusade and in real life, has a pentagram because it's the seal of Solomon and represents the 5 pillars of Islam. It's a thing. But I knew someone who wore a Star of David, and I was like, didn't know you were Jewish. And it was like, no, it's a pentagram because I wear it because it's satanic. And I just looked at him and was just, nah, bro, that has 6 points. That's a Star of David. Never wore it again because it was in fact not satanic, but Jewish. The pentagram is also used in the Baha'i faith. I knew a Baha'i guy once. Weird religion. Anyway, Numidia, not much to say about them. We already knew they existed, and pretty much exactly where, to the point, I got their borders almost exact in my map video. They are single-handedly holding back the hellish invasion to the west in North Africa, with Ethiopia holding the invasion to the south, and Mali being mentioned a little bit, but also probably trying real hard. Shout out to Mali. Low-key, there's a theory that Mali might have got to America before European colonists. Well, not, the Vikings. But there's evidence to suggest that they could have done it. Not that they did, but that it was within their technological capabilities. It was just a thing that they could have gone and they would not have been able to come back. But they could have done it. And they claim to have just sailed west into the distance. And they could have done it. Who knows? Look it up. It's the thing. Moving east, we got Egypt. Is this a weird way I'm covering the map? Yeah, as I said. Yeah. We got Mammon. He's trying to get all the gold from Ethiopia and Mali because his greed. We've discussed this before, but Mammon is actually meant to be a representative of the metaphorical concept of greed, and that you can't serve God and Mammon at the same time. But that concept was a little too hard for the Catholic Church. So they just went, the only way this could make any sense is if they've instead meant a demon. Don't serve a demon. Just don't be greedy. Anyway, good talk. Ethiopia isn't on the map, but it is there. Just south of it. Then we got Beelzebub in Ekron, the place. He was allegedly worshipped in real life. Big quotation marks on that one. Primary source is the Jewish part of the Bible, known to not be the greatest historical source. But also, Baal was a real god worshipped in that area, and it's actually Baal Zebub in the Bible, and sometimes it's also Yahweh, and sometimes other gods. It's a thing, and I'm not nearly educated enough to comment on it. It's just and interesting thing to read into. I've recommended them before, but Esoterica on YouTube dives into a lot of this. Go check them out if any of this interests you. Guy is like a proper academic. Like, man's a doctor of religious studies. Guy knows what he's talking about a lot more than I do. I just mentioned some of the shit in passing because I found it really interesting. Anyway, back on topic. We know about New Antioch, but man, let's give Cyprus credit too. They really holding out. Same with Crete. Shout out to Moses of Crete, killed a lot of people by being an idiot. If you thought religious cult leaders getting all their followers killed is a new thing, oh boy, it's not. Also, that's not a lore thing, that's a real guy. A real guy that existed. Moses of Crete led a lot of people into the sea and they died. Not on the map, but kind of on the map, we got Mecca and Medina, which got eaten by a sandstorm that no one can get through, as depicted in the little corner over here, which, not gonna lie, does look like it's just the Kaaba floating. I know it's not, but it would be cool. Or maybe it's the black stone in the Kaaba doing some cool stuff. Then, for the cities, we got Aleppo. That's in Syria. Apparently, Damascus got fucked at one point, and now we have New Damascus. I'm sort of running through this quickly because none of this is an amazing revelation. But we got Baghdad, which is in the wall, meaning the House of Wisdom is nice and safe and is not a relocated House of Wisdom. Doesn't look like the wall entirely encapsulates them, but from the lore we got, there is a gate at each cardinal direction, so the east wall has to be somewhere. And then we got Alamut, which is not looking as impressive that they are holding off constant sieges now, considering they have a wall to their back and Tehran just backing them up. The time assassins probably helped, but not that much. You just got Iran just hanging there, helping you out. Cool. Moving north, we got the Scythians. This one confused me, because I saw this and thought they were Peloponnesian War era people, and yeah, from 900 to 300 BCE. Somehow the Scythians returned. It's also worth noting some people allege the Scythians to be Gog and Magog, who are what the Iron Wall was, quote unquote, historically created to defend against. In a brief cursory Google, there's also some sort of political movement in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where some Russians consider themselves Scythian. This one baffled me. Honestly, I was very lost on this one. Why are the Scythians back? Also, we can slightly see that the forces of hell have crossed the Caspian Sea, worth noting. Then, above them, we got the Golden Khanate. Now, the Golden Horde was a real Khanate that was under the Mongol Empire, which, when it split, became an independent Khanate. This split was in 1264, and the Khanate lasted until 1502. My guess is that the Golden Horde never dissolved/destroyed by the Russians, and this is just their gradual evolution. There was an Australian documentary that aired 15 years ago called On the Trail of Genghis Khan. Was an Australian guy riding the Mongol Empire length on a horse. Was really good. Looked around to try and find it legally. Couldn't. There is an upload of the entire show on Dailymotion. If that's a thing that interests you, highly recommend it. Give it a watch. It was really good. And if it wasn't, I watched this 15 years ago, so don't. And before we go too far north, we go to Trebizond. We don't know what's up with Trebizond. The prevailing theory is that they practice the truest form of faith. There is a Trench Pilgrim faction based in Greece. They really want to find out what the fuck is going on and keep sending armies through Helllands to find out. And they just haven't reached them yet. Then, north again, we got the Tsardom of Novgorod. Just seems to be the successor to the Republic of Novgorod, a real kingdom-ish that used princes for their titles. Their borders seem pretty similar. Perm used to be the principality that was dependent on Novgorod, then Moscow, then eventually consumed by Russia. Presumably never consumed and maintained its independence, and eventually got kings, hence the kingdom term. Moving east, we got this thing. I saw someone on Reddit that was like, what the fuck is this? What, you've never heard of Baba Yaga? Actual Baba Yaga? Not John Wick Baba Yaga? She's not the boogeyman, she's a witch that lives in the woods in a house with chicken legs that runs around and kidnaps children. You don't know about that? I may have had a Ukrainian friend growing up. May have been very intimately aware of Baba Yaga. As far as he told me, Baba Yaga also operates in Australia, when he would misbehave, his parents would be like, "You gotta behave or Baba Yaga will get you." She's also in Australia. Watch out, Australians, Baba Yaga's around. Speaking of Ukraine, we have Kyiv. There's not much interesting to say about Kyiv. They are just Kyiv. And unfortunately, we are all a lot more globally aware of Kyiv and Ukraine at the moment than I'm sure we would all prefer to be. The Kievan Rus have lands, though. That's interesting. The Kievan Rus were Vikings that traveled down the Volga River, conquering and settling their way through Russia under the Rurik dynasty. They were usually the guys hired by the Byzantines to become the Varangian Guards, though other Norse were hired from elsewhere once word got out. So they're still around, probably Orthodox, most likely very much not pagan or Slavic, Norse pagan or Slavic pagan, still probably very Orthodox. We also got the Cossacks. Cossacks are one of those things where I was just going to put down, we all know the Cossacks, but do we? Semi-nomadic horse people based out of Ukraine and Russia, famous for their military and the one letter that was actually fake. Pig! 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 Still around. I don't really know how to distill the Cossacks down to a digestible portion. Just if there are horseman units coming out of Russia and Ukraine region, Cossacks. Now, in the Estonia-Latvia region, the Teutonic Order, a holy order of religious warriors. I went to look up when the Teutonic Order closed down. They are still around! What? What are they doing? What purpose do you have to exist? There are no new holy wars. Why are you here? Apparently, they stopped being a military order in 1810, which is still way too late. Anyway, in Trench Crusade, they are still a military force. The Knights Hospitaliter are also kicking around somewhere, but seemingly don't really have land. They just have castles and shit. Whereas the Teutonic Order did, for a while, just own Estonia and Latvia region. They just operated out of that. The entire region, this was just theirs. They never lost it in this, and yeah. Then we got Finlandia, aka Finland. They invented Molotov cocktails, both in real life and in Trench Crusade. While most of the world is fighting demons in the Holy Land or the attempted invasions, Finland, alongside Novgorod and Kalmar Union, are on a side quest as there is a hell portal teleporting around in Kola, and they are fighting the ice demons it keeps sending out. Hence, the invention of the cocktail. And also, Vikings that keep showing up thinking the demons are the old gods, so they don't get much play. Then, we have the place straight out of my dreams, Gothland! Norway is also probably involved in this side quest too. That's all there is to say about Norway. They are Norway. What more do you want me to say? We have official confirmation Norway exists. As a kingdom. Much the same in real life. Is the colonel-in-chief of their royal guard still a penguin? I don't know. It fucking better be. Now, we have the Kalmar Union, which historically was a union between Sweden and Denmark as one kingdom, but also they own Norway and Iceland and Finland and all those other little islands in the Norwegian Sea and the coast of Scotland. I know their names. I play too much Crusader Kings. They just don't deserve it. So, the union never dissolved. Sort of. They lost Finland and Norway and seemingly Iceland. Seems like maybe they never settled there because it's just Ultima Thule. Seems like there is an interesting amount of old history going on there. But I have neither the time nor the energy to dive deep into it at this current moment in time. And I'm not like a historical academic. I just like learning about history. I don't know the entire history of Scandinavia. I don't think I'm qualified to be diving into the old history of Scandinavia. Please don't make me dive into the old history of Scandinavia. I don't want to. Anyway, back south into Central Europe. If you're wondering where the Free States of Prussia are, it's here. Like, it might not be, but this is the only place that makes any damn sense. You'd think for a place that gets mentioned so much in the lore, they would have labeled on the map, but no. No, they weren't labeled at all. I just had to look around the historical borders and went, the flag's wrong, but it is still the Imperial Eagle, even though it's facing the wrong way. So maybe that's the Free States of Prussia. It's where the Free State of Prussia where Prussia has been historically. Probably the same place. Poland and Lithuania teamed up, or rather, they specifically didn't break apart a thing. They did. in 1795. You think you're decent in history, then they hit you with the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and you're like, huh, I wonder what the alt history is behind them forming a union, only to find out that that was a real thing they actually did and you didn't know it existed. We're gonna snake back west to the Holy Roman Empire, just chillin', insert Voltaire quote here. Now, I would assume the Duchy of Saxony isn't part of the Holy Roman Empire, considering their coat of arms is as large as the Holy Roman Empire. And I also assume Greater Moravia, Austria, almost wrote Australia, Switzerland, and the other ones are part of the Holy Roman Empire. Also, Amsterdam just chilling in the corner. Look at the Dutch, trying to be an empire and shit. Not this time, buddy. So, one of the few things I absolutely crushed on my map, Greater Moravia being independent and its borders. Go me! Again, they might just be like a vassal state of the Holy Roman Empire. Then we got Hungary just being Hungarian, doing Hungarian shit and fighting off the forces of Croatia and the other Balkans that fell to the Hell Crew. Then we got Romania/Bulgaria as a collective sort of kingdom. Don't know what they're fighting. Don't know what their actual name is. After keeping the forces of Hell stuck in Constantinople, which we know from Lore Primer is thanks to the Order of the Dragon, a real thing. Vlad II Dracul's name comes from the order, and his son has the suffix A to state that his name is the son of the dragon, aka Dracula. Point is, millions were impaled in Wallachia. Dracula might be involved. The years were off by 100 years, but what's to say some magic fuckery Dracula isn't still around doing, as a vampire, doing vampiric shit. Or, hear me out, immortal saint Dracula. Then we got Athens, Greece, the Theocratia of Hellas, most likely. They are hanging out, having a good time. God stole their city that one time, just fucking yoinked it. Quote, the city of Argos is taken by God, and it is no more. It's a biblical reference. Genesis 5:24. Enoch walked faithfully with God, then he was no more, because God took him away. Just a real, hey, where's Enoch? Well, God took him. When will he be back? No, he is no more, because God took him. Like he died? No, God took him. What does that mean? Anyway, Greece also has the aforementioned trench pilgrims that are trying real hard to get into Trebizond. War pilgrimage of St. Methodist. Check out our trench pilgrim New Antioch video for more information on those guys. Then we got the Papal States. I was surprised to learn directly invaded on their borders. Hell Crew really made a beeline to Rome. Fair. Now, I would assume Sicily, Corsica, and Sardinia are all part of the Papal States vassals, though they do have the borders and there is no written vassals line. And to the north, Tuscany and Verona. There is also a part in the Vatican that has an angry hell cloud over it at all times. I don't remember why or where that was discussed. Maybe I'm just spreading misinformation. Speaking of, lastly, the most important land in the game, Genoa, formerly a merchant republic. Be cool if they still were. Founded by Noah, you know, the guy from the Bible. After the Great Flood, when the waters dropped, they landed in northern Italy, and Shem looked at him and said, gee, Noah, this would be a great place for a city. And then Noah just looked at him and smiled. Say that again, he said. And then he founded the ancient city of Genoa. And due to their history with the Ark, they kept a strong boating culture, which eventually became the cornerstone of their merchant republic, selling goods all over the world, provided that world consisted of Europe, North Africa, and Near East Asia. That should be a little bit of information about everything I noticed. Some of it I did not notice much. What am I going to do with fucking Norway, man? It's fucking Norway. Anyway, do the share and subscribe thing, hit the bell. Let me know in the comments what your favorite Genoa fact is. And what was your favorite part, Corgi?
My favorite part was Gothland.
Me too. Anyway, see ya. Bye. You think you're decent at history, and then you think you're decent in history, then they hit you with the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth,